In the headlines, 34 Calypsonians hoping to make the cut at Saturday's quarterfinals. A new venue for Showdown Mass Camp for the rest of the Calypso season. And an experienced law enforcement official questions whether Dominica should entertain the idea of bringing back the defense force. I'm Andrea Louis with the Channel 5 News. Back with the details after this.
Imagine you have Hollywood at your command. Introducing Flow Evil. Anywhere you are.
Big girls don't scream hard like Halloween, make me feel alive.
There's a world of entertainment here, and you run the show. Flow Evil.
Thank you for staying with us. First up, 34 Calypsonians will take to the stage on Saturday in hopes of making it to level 3 of the National Calypso competition. The Calypso quarterfinals is carried for Saturday, 2nd February at Carnival City. Public Relations Officer of the Dominica Calypso Association, Derek Hunter St. Rose, says that things are looking good for Saturday's show.
The Dominica Calypso Association moves in the second gear on Saturday. We're going to have one of the biggest quarterfinals ever on Saturday, and it's going to be at the Windsor Park forecourt. We start at 8:30 bang time. We have a number of good calypsos this year. Various topics, very interesting topics. The melodic arrangement is great, so I foresee a wonderful season.
Victor Comforter Beak will open the show, and former monarch Tronada will end the competition. Others competing for a spot in the semi-finals are Mighty Omi, Tasha P, Shadow Flow, Healer, Triumph, Hunter, Chris B, Vigilante, Checker, Dice, Trendsetter, Mask Eruption, Observer, Hakesy, Jammer B, Web, Intruder, Lugas, Psy, Deros, Scrunter, Caressa, Black Diamond, JD, Son of Saint, Soulpuss, Genius, and Checo. There will also be some first-timers in the big leagues hoping to advance to round 3.
This year we have a number of newcomers. We have Nashel, who was in the Junior Monarch around a few years ago. Irish Kid, he won the Junior Monarch a couple times. Danian and Big C, and they have some interesting songs as well.
The 20 selected from the quarterfinals will head to the semi-finals, carried for 16th February at Carnival City. In more Calypso developments, Showdown Mass Camp will be hosted at a new venue for the rest of the Carnival season. Julian Morris has that story.
The camp had been staged at the Old Mill Cultural Center since 18th January, but was informed that this would no longer be possible. During a press conference Friday, chairperson of Showdown Mass Camp Valda Henry briefed the media on the series of events leading to Mass Camp being held at a new venue.
Last week, Tuesday evening, that's January 23rd, Daryl Bob, one of our executive members and one of our Calypsonians, received a phone call from Mr. Raymond Lawrence to advise that he was instructed that after the 10th on the 25th, we would no longer be able to use the venue. On the evening of January 27th, which was the Sunday, I received a WhatsApp from Mr. Lawrence repeating, in essence, what was told to Daryl. Several conversations ensued between Mr. Lawrence and I. And then on Tuesday, I spoke to the permanent secretary because Mr. Lawrence indicated that his instructions came from the permanent secretary, Ministry of Tourism and Culture.
The camp will be held at Marboyd's Bar along the Eolibla Highway on the 1st of February.
So this evening, our musicians and our Calypsonians have agreed that we will be playing for the public. They are not going to be bowed or broken by this action. And we contacted and have confirmed with Marboyd's Kubuli Bar that Mass Camp will perform this evening with a live band at the Mass Camp Kubuli Bar this evening.
Henry says it is possible that Mass Camp may move to the Windsor Park forecourt or Carnival City from the 8th of February.
But at 9:18 this morning, I received a phone call from Mr. Gerard Kozlatik, the chairperson of the Dominica Festival Commission, who informed me that he was aware that we were asked to find new locations and we were having a difficulty. And the DFC was offering to Mascam the stadium forecourt to host the remaining tents for the rest of the season. We did not go into any great discussion. We agreed that we would meet on Monday to discuss this offer that was made by the Dominica Festival Commission. And as at this point, that's where we are.
This year's Mass Camp is being held under the theme Mass Camp, the Phoenix Still Standing.
In other news now, retired Scotland Yard detective David Michael says in order for a community policing program to be successful here, authorities must revisit the merits of use of army fatigues by police officers. David Michael, who served as a police officer for 30 years in the United Kingdom, says successful community policing depends on good relations between the police and the community. Michael, who has a strong record in investigating international organized crime such as contract killing, kidnappings and homicides, says his work, which spanned decades, never depended on wearing military uniforms. He says he is concerned about police officers going about their daily routine wearing army fatigues.
Working for the trust and confidence of the community, which you need. It doesn't matter how well resourced you are, it doesn't matter how well trained your officers are, you cannot get the best results without having the trust and confidence and cooperation of the community. And by the community, I mean everybody. I mean fisher people, farmers, shopkeepers, teachers, social workers, politicians. All of us have to support our police so that they can prevent and detect crime.
Mr. Michael says perhaps the time has come for the authorities to explore whether it would be prudent to re-establish a defense force.
Now, we used to have a defense force in Dominica. Some of the younger generation may not know, but some of the people of my generation and others will understand why the original defense force was disbanded. However, if the authorities believe that we need a force that should be in army fatigues, then I would suggest that they strongly look at having a new version of what was the defense force that's accountable and that's going to safeguard the security of the country and, where necessary, provide support to the civilian police. But for me, with all my experience and knowledge, as I said, not only working in the police service in London where I worked, but with other police services, there is no operational police imperative for police officers to be wearing military fatigues. And there's also, I have to say, I grew up in basically an unarmed police service in London. We had tactical firearms teams. I myself led firearms operations where I had tactical firearms advisors, although I never carried a firearm myself.
As the carnival celebrations heat up, the community of St. Joseph is not to be left out, as it will be staging its official carnival opening this weekend. Saturday's parade starts at the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School bus stop and heads into the main village.
Every year, I know the entire public knows that St. Joseph does it real big and real great. We try to not overshine Roseau, or I should say the official opening parade, but we try to do it as big as we can. And so today I want to say a special thank you to the Dominica Festivals Commission, although Ms. Williams said it's a small contribution, but it's big. Even if she said small so that you guys don't raise eyebrows, it's big, okay? Just letting you know. And on Saturday, what we'll have is an opening parade starting at the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School bus stop, leading down into the St. Joseph main road, onto our main street, what we call the village section. We have groups like the Dakis, we have Sensei, of course, you know, St. Joseph is famous for our Sensei. Lapo Kabwit, we have the National Bank flag wavers, we have the Babwa, cheerleaders, you name it. This year we want to put a special segment in our parade called the St. John Display segment.
James says St. Joseph has also been having its localized carnival warm-ups as a lead-up to the Monday and Tuesday parades.
Every weekend we do have village warm-up, so we have Lapo Cabwit on the streets, we have senseis, we have different groups every Friday and Saturday evening. Last weekend was a mashup, I can tell you. We had fun in St. Joseph, so join us again on Friday.
The St. Joseph Village Carnival Committee was gifted with a financial contribution from the DFC for its official opening parade. You are watching the Channel 5 News. Stay tuned for more after the break.
The government of Dominica has articulated its vision to become the world's first climate-resilient nation, with a view of protecting its people and the environment. Effective January 1st, 2019, the government of Dominica will ban the importation of single-use plastics and styrofoam products, with a view of ensuring that our nature island will remain clean and green.
First off, the DHTA would like to commend the government of the Commonwealth of Dominica for instituting this ban on styrofoam and plastics. This is something that the DHTA has been advocating for the last 4 years. We've already seen several of our members and the DHTA itself ban plastics and styrofoam from all our events. We believe that this is a step in the right direction in order for us to preserve our nature island brand.
5 years ago, the Fort Young Hotel, as part of our sustainability initiative, took the decision to ban styrofoam and single-use plastic at the hotel. Our guests have been quite appreciative in terms of the hotel's decision to go green, basically, and they're very happy to be part of what we're doing, as they feel that they too are contributing to the protection of Dominica's environment and sustainability.
In this beach bar started a year ago, and we decided to use biodegradable products, seeing that we're located on the beachfront and Meru is a beach cleaning community. We decided to do our part by using biodegradable products. I've had customers who came, and when we presented them with their takeaway meals, some people hug me, some people kiss me. They're so happy to be using biodegradable products.
In order to preserve our nature island, we must be proactive in our approach towards the conservation of our environment. This move will certainly make Dominica more attractive to the environmentally conscious traveler. A message from the Ministry of Environment, Climate Resilience, Disaster Management and Urban Renewal, and the Ministry of Tourism and Culture.
Imagine you have Hollywood at your command. Introducing Flow Evil.
Red cheese, gold rings, all black, everything creeping through the night.
Anywhere you are.
Big girls don't scream hard like Halloween, make me feel alive.
There's a world of entertainment here, and you run the show. Flow Evil.
Welcome back. Back to Carnival Developments. A record 21 traditional groups will be on display at the annual Traditional Old Mass Festival. Julian Morris has more.
This year's Old Mass Festival is scheduled for Sunday afternoon at the Newtown Savannah, with a parade starting on Victoria Street near the Public Library. Chief Cultural Officer Raymond Lawrence says the impressive number of registered groups is a strong signal of Dominica's vibrant culture.
A sizzling explosion is going to happen at the Savannah with 21 groups, and I think maybe that might be our highest amount taking part in the festival. And we have Newtown Stilt Walkers, the Newtown Lapo Cabwit, Thunderbirds, St. Joseph Sensei, the Kalinago Tetmas, the Coliho Band Move, the Sakis, Lapo Cabwit, the Good Hope Black Devils, the Castle Bruce Negmawan, the Jubla Sensei, Sugar Fire, Grand Bay Sensei, the Maho Bouillon Lapo Cabwit, the Gutter Lapo Cabwit, the Africulture Stilt Walkers, Fire Stick from Marigot, Chupul Lapo Cabwit, that's a new one now. Interesting name, I must say. Portsmouth Sensei, Bacchanal Women, and the Salisbury Sensei.
While applauding the 21 groups down to perform, Lawrence noted there are other elements of old mass which has phased out over the years.
The Suswell Sui, I was asking myself, you know, have we been seeing those bands? We used to see them before. Not sure when last I've seen a Suswell Sui band. That's one of the, you kind of have to monitor and look out for those things so that we don't lose out. We have to make our young people know that there was a costume called the Suswell Sui. Cowboys is another one of those large capes. Maybe we haven't seen that as in a little while. Yeah, and there were women, there was a name for them. They would tie their heads, they would have those two big sort of knots on the sides of their head and different kind of like madras, tied up costumes, different types of cloth. I think they used to call them jamettes. That was the name of it. That we haven't seen in a while. And then we used to have an Indian element in the carnival, which I've always been sorry that we lost.
The Chief Cultural Officer says the department will continue working to restore aspects of Dominica's traditional old mass while appreciating the contemporary mass.
There are many aspects of the old mass I personally would like to see come back, and then maybe cultural division now we just maybe need to put more effort into. Already, I mean, Sensi and some of them are very strong now, darkies and so on, but we need to continue the work. Along with the modern, we're not saying that you cannot have all your nice, beautiful modern costumes. But as I mentioned, Dominica's Carnival is a mix of both. That's what makes it rich. It's not just one or the other. It is both things happening together to make the whole carnival beautiful and successful.
Lawrence also received $7,500 from the Dominica Festivals Committee for staging of the traditional Old Mass Festival.
Human Rights Watch says under the leadership of Presidents Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro, the accumulation of power in the executive branch and erosion of human rights guarantees have enabled the government to intimidate, censor and punish critics.
The organization is also reporting severe shortage of medicines, medical supplies and food. There have also been widespread allegations of abuse and poor prison conditions. Former Freedom Party Press Secretary Parry Bellot is of the view that in some instances there are double standards among some of the critics of the Venezuelan government. Bellot was asked to what extent he thought allegations of human rights abuses were a factor in U.S. involvement in the ongoing crisis in the South American country.
But it's not every country in the world that has to follow the democratic principles that we grew up with. I remember when Chavez was criticized for passing a law saying that they were restricted to one term or maybe 2 terms in the past, all the presidents were like the US president. And he passed a law saying, no, it'll be unrestricted. And people, so you can stay there as long as you want and so on. Well, that's possible. But they were criticizing those who didn't like Chavez. And I said, but wait a minute, we're in the Caribbean. All of us are allowed to have government without any restricted term. So what was Chavez doing that was so bad? You know, we have to be reasonable and fair. And unfortunately, we have a lot, for instance, on the radio, on the talk shows now, there are a lot of people trying to compare our government with the Chavez and Maduro government, and we're heading the same way and whatnot.
You think that's a stretch?
That is a very, very long stretch.
Others believe that there is another major factor drawing the U.S. into Venezuela. President Nicolas Maduro himself has warned that the U.S. is intervening in Venezuela in order to get at the country's oil reserve.
We're looking at the oil assets. That's the single most important income stream to the government of Venezuela. We're looking at what to do to that. We want everybody to know we're looking at all this very seriously. We don't want any American businesses or investors caught by surprise. They can see what President Trump did yesterday. We're following through on it.
So if you think of a company like Citgo, which is owned by PDVSA, which is the state-run oil company there in Venezuela, we have a lot of those Citgo assets right here in the U.S. Is that something, for example, sir, that you're looking at?
Yeah, well, we're in conversation with major American companies now that are either in Venezuela or, in the case of Citgo, here in the United States. I think we're trying to get to the same end result here. You know, Venezuela is one of the 3 countries I call the troika of tyranny. It'll make a big difference to the United States economically if we could have American oil companies really invest in and produce the oil capabilities in Venezuela. It'd be good for the people of Venezuela. It'd be good for the people of the United States. We both have a lot at stake here, making this come out the right way.
And Pope Francis has called for a just and peaceful solution to Venezuela's political crisis. According to the Associated Press, the Pope refused to say if the Holy See would recognize opposition leader Juan Guaido in his claim for presidency, a move backed by the U.S. and its allies. Pope Francis has also questioned the wall that U.S. President Donald Trump would build on the Mexican border. He urged society and the church not to turn their backs on or stigmatize those who migrate due to poverty and violence. To end the news, the headlines again. 34 Calypsonians hope to make the cut at Saturday's quarterfinals. A new venue for Showdown Mass Camp for the rest of the Calypso season. And an experienced law enforcement official questions whether Dominica should entertain the idea of bringing back the defense force. Feel free to contact us at news.marpin2k4.com. You can also access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Andrea Louis, and to all of our viewers around the world, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful weekend.